After all this, you still...
I still want that gas, yes. And you had better deliver.
Yeah, let me tell you, these new pillows.
It's like living like a king.
I forgave my father. Not that we had beef. I'm just it's insane. The whole time, people will tell you they were fighting demons. Whole time they just had to change.
It's just bad
their
sleeping
fucking pillows
practices.
I mean, who knows? Maybe that's what it'll take to get us a consistent release schedule. Just did you get enough sleep?
My question is how comfortable does the bed have to be so I can forgive my father? Because I think that bed does not exist.
I mean, that should be the new metric for mattresses. That should be the new metric.
Will you forgive your father's bullshit? Is it that soft for you to get
how
rid of
good
your mommy issues?
How good of a night's rest are you getting that you just wake up with no resentments? Anyways, folks, welcome back to the greenhouse. It's me, your host Adi. I'm joined by recurring, and now I guess you are de facto co-host at this point.
Yes. Hello. I host. My name's Sky.
Damn, where'd I put the outline? I had 15 minutes to prep for this, and I still okay, here's the outline. So I think it's 40. We're 43 episodes in now, with this episode. So I figured it's about time I maybe start orienting this podcast towards something, if at all. And I mean, we've said this jokingly several freaking times on the show now that, well, guess that's just because they're gaslit in the greenhouse. You may have also heard me say, sometimes you're being gaslit in the greenhouse, and sometimes you gotta light that green gas in the house. And really, it was just the name of the show. Okay. It was bullshit. The whole reason was bullshit. I was just trying to find something alliterative and satirical and betrays a certain political intrigue, some kind of NPR program, and turns out a bunch of environmental reporters have already used this to describe Trump's policies or something like that. So I did not pioneer this term. I did not observe anything unique. In fact, I routinely plagiarize many people. I plagiarize myself even.
Which is a thing, if you guys don't know. Don't plagiarize yourselves.
Or do. Not all of us are writing a... If you're not in school, plagiarize
yourself, yeah. Or plagiarize in general, yeah.
Yeah, retweet your own tweets. Like your own posts. What?
For real.
Who's stopping you?
No one. Fake pride.
Yeah.
Fuck pride.
Except Pride Month.
Yes.
We stand.
Yes, pride.
Well, I think we have been arching towards this topic. We've been lurching and bestriding, just really angling towards it.
Just scooching towards it.
Yeah, gradually but surely. And I guess if there's probably some author or some takesmith or some expert who's already described this phenomenon, but I have not reviewed the research. I have not reviewed the academic literature on this. And I wrote this as a text. That's the other problem. I literally put this on my phone. I did not put this into the outline. So this is real bum shit. I texted you this, but let me. Yeah, I texted you what I was gonna say out loud.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't even fucking put in the outline. Okay. Let's see. God damn. Okay, I'm just going to read my text verbatim, and then we're just going to piece it from there. I want to cover, like Dash, the way in which pop liberalism has penetrated people's considerations. Brackets, i.e., the greenhouse gaslighting effect. Close brackets. Yes, I will read all the punctuation. Do not stop me. The ways in which social media as a forum has accelerated that process and broken people's brains, and that the reality of social media as being governed by market forces, i.e. capitalist logic and being a literal marketplace of ideas, leads to counterproductive discourse each and every time, and this is why everything is always circular and nothing comes of it. And I know I've said this before, right? That like, we're against debate here. We're against like explicitly becoming a political program, although we talk politics a lot. But this is why I insist that this is more a show about society and culture. Because all political discourse, particularly in the United States, is subject to this model, and everyone's brain is fucking broken. True. And you and I came out of that same cycle of early Facebook to Tumblr back to Twitter type beat. I will admit I stayed on Facebook way too long.
I mean, I'm still on Facebook, but I literally rarely post. I am a grade A stalker on Facebook.
Probably gonna cut that bit. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like most people have kind of given up posting on Facebook. I think Facebook is trying to catch up on all the other trends, but like people who actively post, especially all the people who talk politics, are kind of all boomers now. And all of our generation is kind of holed up on Twitter, particularly the people who, made the exodus from Tumblr. So that's like the pattern of who's on what app, and like, the specific apps and their features, like painting how people talk about things, I guess. But I don't know. We've talked on past episodes about that kind of Tumblr logic and how it's affected a certain cohort of online libs.
Yeah, it's made absolutely horrible people, and people who will just regurgitate any half-ass thing they've heard and they think they know the meaning of. And it's honestly embarrassing because it's just showing how little comprehension skills a lot of people have. Mm-hmm. But it's also just like, oh my God, I've seen this before. Literally 12 years ago on Tumblr. Like, stop. It's all like the same fucking shit over and over again. And it's so annoying.
Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out like what exactly the blueprint was. I'm going to point to Coney 2012. If you remember that. I still don't remember what happened with that.
I don't either, but I don't know if that's the blueprint.
I'm just trying to like go through my memory of that time. And again, I was a kid and not exactly, a fully goblinized person who talks politics on social media. But that was where I got a lot of my introduction to this. I think the big defining moments of what broke people's brain in that era must have been like Coney 2012, Gamergate, maybe.
Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah, Occupy was the start of all this, I guess. Yeah, and I was not at all politically conscious for Occupy. I was a child.
Yeah, literally we're children.
We had no fucking idea what was going on for Occupy.
Like in 11th grade, worried about math is gonna be like, yeah, I understand the logistics of like, especially back then, where it's just like people ignorance was very much bliss. It was like you didn't have woke, like you didn't have that
The
many woke.
wokeism had not started then.
Yeah, but like just like people being aware and being like being able to see the bullshit. Like, not a lot of people called out bullshit. A lot of people just really went with the flow and with the status quo. And I think
because I think like for whatever reason, I guess people, especially our generation, who like was coming into adulthood at the time of the Bush years, I don't think we had fully developed a critique of. I'll say it for myself. I did not have a critique of, American foreign policy at that point. I did not realize the realities of things like downward mobility. The economic crisis I did not understand what was going on.
right. The student loan bubble hadn't
Right.
burst.
Yeah, so it's like you still, I think, at least for me and you, and I think a lot of our peers, we were kind of like that last generation who had any, or like the most recent generation, maybe, let's not say last yet, that thought it's okay, we'll go through college and we'll be upwardly mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Or we'll go through the system as it is, and it's a meritocracy. That's what we've been told it is. And it'll spit us out and put us where we need to be. Because we did not see what happened to graduates at the time of the recession. We didn't see that, like, what they were struggling with, trying to find anything.
Even with all of the like jokes, like the amount of jokes that I've saw about people having master's degrees and then working in coffee shops, and like how it was just like, ha ha ha, that person fucked up, and then being in that situation being like, wait a minute, I didn't fuck up, the system fucked up. Like, why is this on me that the system was not built at all to sustain the people who are getting these degrees and are forced to get these degrees?
Right. And, like, that's the thing, is we, the benefit of hindsight and, I don't know, the kind of, like, resurgence of a left-wing narrative. I won't say we have anything close to a socialist movement in America yet. I'm going to very, like, carefully defer to someone else on that. Anyone else but me to make that call. But, I think with the benefit of hindsight, we can all look at that. But once you kind of, get that, you take the pill, you know what I mean? Of, like, recognizing that view of things. One, you have the benefit of hindsight and being like, holy fuck, what was I doing talking about representation as the only way forward? Things like that. But then you look at everyone else still doing those things, and then you're just like, what is to be done?
Right.
And then the even broader question that we brought up on this show, and like I want to repitch this. I don't think people fully comprehend, one, that not everyone looks at the internet. Not everyone is as terminally online as everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And that, maybe a certain cohort of people might be active users and a lot of people might just look at the internet. But I don't think we fully unpacked the way in which social media has broken people's brains.
I mean,
And the way it's like, I don't know, it is having an impact on society and how people interact.
I think it's honestly just media in general. And I think because social media is just the newest form of media, then it's the easiest. And it's like other media, newspapers. And if you couldn't get access to a certain newspaper, you didn't hear certain news. Like, but social media, you have all of the access.
You have all the access and you get to be like a media figure in your own right. You know what I mean?
It's, yeah. Because even random people get verified, and apparently their words mean more than you now. Like, that shit's crazy.
I'm telling you, man, dude, there's second-class citizens in this country. The verified, who rule above us, and the unverified, who toil the posted mines.
Amen. But it's ridiculous because I do think I think social media has been the easiest way to rot people's brains. Like, people thought like television was rotting people's brains. Whoa, man.
Back in the day, these new books, robbing our youth from the stone tablets.
This is new radio. Like every single different form of media has been deemed bad by some kind of group.
There is that, but I think there is something. Because like the earliest proponents of the internet always viewed it as this like democratizing thing. That like you give people internet access, they learn how to use it, and in turn they can kind of independently look for and disseminate information, which sounds good enough, but I don't think has ever really worked in practice. Because again, like this has all been like diffused through a market economy. It's never been diffused through that kind of space. And especially like political discourse has always been fucked. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many people realistically participate in anything like an organization? Like, yeah, you might be part of, like, I don't know, your local Democratic Party chapter, or you might be in DSA, or you might be in a union, maybe. That still does not describe the majority of people.
Right.
If you went through college, I guess that's maybe a space where you had certain political discussions with other students, your professors, things like that. But I mean, aside from that, like, there is no meaningful space for anyone to participate in any of this. Even then, like, it's not like you get to, or if there is, it's like it's public forum things at like city councils, or like a fucking town hall with your representative or something. And it's you asking them questions. It's not really you like doing anything
being
meaningful.
Like, hey, let's talk about this. They're like, that question is not good. Next question, please.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, I'm speaking specifically to the American context, I guess. So
yeah, I'm sorry that I don't know anything other than that. It's all they taught me.
I invite folks from other, you know, backgrounds to maybe comment on this if at all possible. But my kind of read on this is, you know, the average input an American has in their political system is
none.
Actually, yeah, it is next to none, aside from voting and making public comments.
I mean, I can write to my senator, but then they'll just send me an email back of like a canned response that some intern put in.
Yeah, which almost makes me wonder, like, especially like the kind of proliferation, because I want to say like woke, that term got tossed around, like, I think post the earliest round of BLM protests, and I think it was mostly like Black Twitter saying it, and I think it definitely lost all meaning by the time you have Jennifer Granholm, former Michigan governor, tweeting that vice presidential candidate Virginia Senator Tim Kaine is woke. That's definitely when it lost all meaning. But like, what woke has become that catch-all of like a certain kind of mainly white liberalism, but liberal talking points to be posted ad nauseum on social media, or to be posted as like standards for like what to think about an issue, especially if you haven't done much reading yourself or whatever. I had a point to this. I was wondering where I was going with this. But yeah, I think like it just probably is the fact that most people who participate in this kind of stuff tend to be people who have some kind of collegiate background, and like as a result tend to regurgitate it the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like we've said before, like Tumblr was the space where people really learned to double down on regurgitation. Didn't even need to be accurate. It just needed to be the fact that you said it.
Yeah. And how much you said it.
How many times you said it.
How loud you said it.
Did you incorporate it into your art? Did you incorporate it into your music? Did you?
Is it your background, your theme?
Dear God, I never understood Tumblr. I never fucking...
I miss themes. It's like, this is my vibe right now. I would spend hours organizing and like finding backgrounds and shit. That's insane. Just for them to end up taking porn off? Disrespectful. That was literally
but honestly, it was also like the worst thing about Tumblr, in my opinion, is like you could not get anyone to follow your shit unless you were posting your nudes.
And then they took that away.
Which in a way good, but then like no one has talent on that site.
Exactly. In Twitter, you can't say that you want to die, but you can say, here goes a cum shot, and guess what? That will pass on Twitter.
I may or may not cut this section. Let's see.
Babe, you can't cut all of my funny things.
No, I'm losing my train of thought here. I made a fucking outline and I still forgot. No, I think we got through that fucking first section, right? Okay. So yeah, I think we're already late to this shit. I said I wasn't going to talk about it, and we're actually not going to talk about it. But I did think it was time for me to at least like reflect on, because we're talking about the nature of social media and what it does to people. I think it is worth talking about it in the context of this recent thing everyone was posting about, the Will Smith slapping Chris Rock incident at the Oscars. Which I'm just going to like, we're not going to recap what happened. However,
what else is there to
I did
recap?
not know the Academy Awards was being presented that day. I had no interest in this. If the slap did not happen.
The craziest thing about all this backlash is I can guarantee you no one has talked this much about the Oscars since the Moonlight thing, and that also wasn't good. That was absolutely bad, because isn't the whole Oscars point is to give people the right awards?
Well, the whole thing about the Academy, right, is that
it's a whole bunch of pedophiles giving each other hand jobs.
Yes. Yes. But also, the Academy never held that much significance until like recently. I don't know when the shift was. And I know there's film heads in the audience. Y'all explain this, or y'all elaborate on this, but it used to be the kind of thing in old Hollywood where the awards were pretty much like, it was just a quick affair. People came and left. And then it turned into like this industry trade show / self-mythologizing session. It's viewed as this prestigious event. Same thing with the Grammys. I don't know why. It might just be because when they started televising it, they felt like they had to make it something grand.
I think that might be.
I don't know. I don't know, and I refuse to look it up. But what gets me about what happened is like, who was actively following Will Smith's career or Chris Rock's career prior to this point?
Who The type of people who are like, this makes me never want to watch another Will Smith movie. Like they were
Name 5 movies of his.
It was like, have you ever gone out your way to watch a Will Smith movie?
But like no, but it's like literally up front.
Smith?
Or it's like, I can't believe Chris Rock got slapped. It's like, what was the last thing you remember Chris Rock being in? And that's the thing, like people like, at least the Will Smith defenders, you have Fresh Prince to go off of,
right? Because that was iconic.
But like the Chris Rock crowd, I'm like,
you literally
what was he in most recently?
This dude had a show called Everybody Hates Chris, and then wondered why he got slapped.
He wasn't even in his show.
I know, he was just a voiceover. He was literally just, this was in a studio somewhere being like, everybody hates Chris. Like,
I'm gonna auto-tune that.
Thank you. But like, what the fuck? Like, he literally hasn't been relevant in forever. He wasn't relevant when he hosted the Grammys in 2016. He isn't relevant today. I don't know why he was even there. The fact that his brother Tony Rock had something to say about Jada and called her a bitch multiple times, it's like, why? First of all, why?
So, but that's the thing. It's like, it's a repeat offense thing that none of us could have known to look for.
Right.
You would have to be like a real like paparazzi celebrity lorehead, and like, who are those people? Do those people like? Do people really follow celebrity gossip anymore? I'm genuinely curious as someone who never looked at any of it.
I mean, I was a person who did, but I don't. Like, if it's on Twitter and like I'm intrigued, especially if I'm seeing multiple tweets about it, I might like look it up just so I can know what they're talking about. But most stuff I won't follow unless there's like a really funny meme. Like, honestly, if there's a meme, I might know like more of the details about it. But if it's not a meme, I'll be like, okay, why should I care about whoever the fuck this is? But why are people just so okay with making jokes about black women and
it's the same crowd that talks about defend black women all of a sudden
that's the thing is no they didn't they never even said those words, defend black women. They liked someone's post that had a white lady with a shirt that says defend black women, and they're like, yes, this is it, we did it, we are supporting our black brothers and sisters especially. Like, no, you're doing nothing, you've done nothing.
But and that's the thing that's getting me though in all of this, because I think you're, at the end of the day, you're right. And it's also just like, it seems to be like this cultural thing that came up that, again, I think is irrelevant, but since we're on the subject, I guess we'll address it. As like, it seems to be this kind of thing where like going out of your way to chastise or admonish someone for speaking ill of your partner seems more acceptable to a certain demographic than others. And I feel like this is another case of like an issue that frankly is not really for everyone to comment on, because again, none of us would have cared that this was happening unless it got publicized in the way it did, right? But it got passed through the race and identity filter somehow. And because of that, like, white people, particularly the kind who feel like obligated to perform a certain level of wokeness, got in all their takes about violence.
Oh my
over
God.
That. And this is the thing that I hate myself for, because I got in an argument with my white friends about this, and I don't think I should take back what I said, but I take back the fact that I ever engaged in it. And what I said was, how is this slap anything more violent than, the conflict in Ukraine, or, displacing people who are homeless, or what our police do every day in the streets? Like, how is this more violent than anything else that goes on in America right now.
I think the real thing that pissed me off about like the people who were engaged with those questions, that they went back
like, is
to
this violence? Like, what?
they went back to violence is violence no matter what. And I'm like, you literally have never had this philosophy any other time.
But that's what I'm getting at. It's like, why did the urgency fall on everyone observing this to have a moral judgment about it? Like, what prompted all of us to do it?
Because that's the American dream, is having a fucking opinion on something that you have no at all anything for. Like, you can't control it, you can't do anything to help it or solve it. That's why people are obsessed with Ukraine and Russia. That's why people are obsessed with a lot of different things. Like, they know that they have no control, but knowing about it is a little bit better than not knowing about it.
Knowing about it, and especially like fighting with people about it is fun.
Because you're like, it not even just fun, but it feels like,
but it triggers some kind of pleasure center in
for
people,
some people,
right?
it feels like activism. They think just saying things like this is activism, and no, it's not. It's having an opinion. Activism is actually doing something. Like, you're not doing anything, especially if you're double downing on stupid logic such as violence is violence. Because the craziest thing is, I feel like Will Smith could have, and
first of all, people talking about that slap like he was fucking Goku.
ain't nobody beating Goku.
But at the same time, it's like, if it sounded hard, it's only because like Chris was mic'd up.
Literally, and the mic is right on his chest, and his face is right next to his chest. I don't know if you guys know this. It doesn't take a doctor or a scientist to realize where the fuck a mic is and how it can make that loud of a sound. But I feel like Will Smith could have, like, did anything else, and people would have been like, this is amazing. Like, he could have been like, you's a bitch, I fucking hate you, I'm gonna meet you after, and everybody would have been like, this was well deserved, he was standing up for his wife.
But that's the thing,
because
is,
it
like,
had to do with one little slap. Like,
do you think it was scripted?
I don't, because Will Smith is literally losing, like, there's so many of his productions.
Like, his career has been on a downward trajectory recently. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't think it's been on a downward trajectory. I don't think.
Okay, after the Disney Aladdin shit, though.
He's got Bel Air. He just fucking won an Oscar.
Damn, am I just not? I mean, that's the thing. Like, post Marvel, who's watching movies?
That's the thing. You don't watch movies, and you're not like a
Marvel
Will Smith
ruined movies
head.
for me. There we go.
People aren't Will Smith heads. Like, people like Will Smith or they don't like Will Smith, but people ain't like, I'd rather die for Will Smith.
But that's the thing, is like, but that's what I'm saying.
Bitch.
Like, this shit has gotten people like picking camps over celebrities that don't fall in their top 5.
Like, oh my God, imagine caring so much about a celebrity that you don't like. Is this Rihanna, Beyonce, Megan Thee Stallion? Absolutely not. None of those people. And then you don't even want to get me started on the conversation people are having about Megan Thee Stallion when she literally got shot and this stupid ass slap. We're not going to talk about it because I'll be here all day. But it's really ridiculous. Like, people,
like again, it's just like, what is it about this incident that has people hyper fixating on the slap, aside from people who are really opportunistically tying it to an opportunity to talk about domestic violence, to talk about themselves.
But when people talk about, okay, so why does insert so many actors and actresses here still have a career? And think
about all the people at the fucking Academy Awards, like Epstein affiliates, fucking literally, tax dodgers, all these people.
Apparently Jared Leto had like a little cult, quote unquote.
Yeah.
It's like a music festival, but it's like kind of a cult, and he walks around looking like Jesus and shit, and it's kind of fucking weird. But like
Hollywood sickos, as they're called.
And he was called out for apparently dating like very young to underage women. All of this shit, like Woody Allen, Woody Allen,
Roman Polanski,
literally all of these
Harvey Weinstein,
absolute known rapists, not at all taken away from their like prestige of the Oscars. And the fact that if the Oscars really cared, they would have never gave Will Smith that award 10 minutes later. They would have been like, hey, we just gonna not give this to him. Who was the runner-up? Like, you acting like they couldn't do that. Like, they don't have the power. Hilarious. It's their fucking reward show. It's their... And then they go back and like, oh, we told him that he had to leave. And it's like, no, you didn't.
Well, but no, but didn't you see that TMZ thing that came out where it's like, they were actually like, oh no, you did great there, Will. You want to sit here? You want to sit here, bro?
They literally did not ask him to leave. They had no opinion about this until the next day where everybody else had an opinion.
I think the only people who were like trying to have an opinion about it, like the Amy Schumer types, that's what I meant earlier, like people opportunistically trying to make it about them.
Amy Schumer literally made that about her.
Which again, like also I did not watch the Academy Awards. So again, like I said earlier, I did not want to focus on this, but I'm just trying to ask the question, why did we care about this for as long as we did? Wasn't there like a presentation that happened earlier in the Oscars too, where they were basically alleging that they wanted to objectify and like ogle at and diddle men or something like that?
I mean, the thing about the Oscars that I've seen a lot of people say, and this is the most important thing when you think about it, the Oscars are fucking cringy as fuck. It's all of these rich people like patting each other on the back with a few poor people sprinkled in, hoping that they get their lives changed by this opportunity. And most of them don't, and it fucking sucks. And it's literally just it's a fucking circle jerk.
Yeah.
In designer clothes with food that looks very sad and like epic after parties. The Oscars was really about the after parties. I heard that the after parties are
and wasn't
lit.
like the Beyonce Jay-Z after party like at a union hotel that was on strike?
Yeah. I will say, which that is despicable.
Again, this is this is our most horrible episode. Actually, every episode is the most horrible episode. That's the one guarantee greenhouse gaslighting makes. Every episode is going to get worse. Every episode is going to get worse.
I mean, the world keeps getting worse. I don't know how we would be able to get better. Like the situations of
like
life.
just be happy I didn't shut down the show, okay? Like,
I will say that I think it's just really funny that people care this much about the Oscars. Or
I think it had to happen because like the way this event got publicized in the way that it did, this would have been like the least viewed Oscars of all time if it were up to everything. I think I even remember like there was an announcement about who's hosting the Oscars and people were like quote tweeting it saying this looked mid as hell, I'm not gonna lie,
bro.
And I'm pretty sure, like, again, maybe it's scripted, maybe it isn't, but it feels manufactured to some extent. You know what I mean? That like they can't get people's attention on this thing enough. So a dramatic moment like that hypes everyone's eyeballs in, gets people talking about the Oscars as something to care about maybe for the next time they have this shit. If there is a planet to have the Oscars on, for crying out loud.
Right. That would make sense, but you also have to think these are the people who made Amy Schumer one of their hosts. I don't think they really care about getting views. I don't think they really care.
So your final take is it was not scripted.
Yeah, my final take, I truly, at the beginning of the week, I was like, I don't know if it was, but the way that everything has, like,
because it just feels like disorienting the way people have gone all in on this.
You want to know what makes me think that it's not scripted?
Go on.
The way that other people have gotten canceled, like Zoe Kravitz.
Mm-hmm.
Like she said something about it. She didn't even say, and it was like shady. And people are like, well, Didn't you say that you thought that 14-year-old Jaden Smith was attractive when she was like 24 or 23 at the time?
Horrible.
And
oh my god.
started like sharing pictures of like her looking a mess and reminding people that she apparently said that she was not a black artist, she was an artist. And like all of these other people, like everybody who has come out saying something has gotten dragged to absolute filth. And like people are bringing like shit out the woodwork. And it's like, man, y'all really could have just sat there and shut the fuck up. And I can't believe they got me saying that this nigga Harry Potter over here saying the realest shit, being like, I'm tired of everybody giving their bloody opinions.
It's crazy because that Harry Radcliffe, Daniel Radcliffe, yeah, Daniel Radcliffe. This dude had the opportunity to become the worst child star of all time. He's surprisingly well adjusted.
Yeah, he's been on like theater, like on
not
Broadway.
Not to stan Harry Potter. I don't think
he's anything
but I'm just
special.
saying, like that's surprisingly measured given how many people like turned this like I said. This is an event that does not involve everyone's participation and thoughts.
It's become a culture war.
That's the thing, and like I was trying to say earlier in the first part of the show that went nowhere. Actually, every part of the show goes nowhere. Go on. So, you know, like what social media has become, it's just a space for people to parse their side of the culture war, because that's all we have instead of politics. We have culture war. We don't have politics anymore. Yeah, the dynamics of power and who holds it, that is never up for discussion anymore. And trying to change that no one is allowed to talk about that anymore in this country, especially. So, what had me going about this topic, because we were going to talk about all the bad takes people had, and I think we have thoroughly spoken about the people who found a way to make it about them. Let's not give them any more airtime because that's what they want. But the next crowd that had me going was the people who always bitch and moan about cancel culture. Mm-hmm. And especially like the people who feel like their praxis needs to be defending stand-up comedy. And the people who are defending Chris Rock in the context of, you know, stand-up comedians have a right to free speech. And the slap was him getting canceled in the physical realm. And stuff like, it's like the most harebrained shit, which makes me wonder, because for the longest time, the reason why I didn't want to talk about cancel culture, and people have asked, like, are you going to do a cancel culture episode? And I said, never. Because it's the kind of shit that it's always the same people with the same points. There's no way to fucking answer the question of cancellation, or because like, is it real? Is it not real? Blah, 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 blah. The whole problem is that you're talking about social media use and patterns of social media use in the context of a market space. You're never going to get anything conclusive because there's nothing to be concluded on. Even if you can say that, oh, someone got canceled and it worked, big fucking whoop. Like, you know, someone will say Milo Yiannopoulos got chased off of Twitter. He made it back and has a career now again. Louis C.K. got canceled. Again, he made it over to Parler or whatever these conservative sites are. Or like you say something like Louis C.K. got canceled. He came back. He's doing the stand-up circuit. Maybe he doesn't have a Netflix special anymore, but he still has a career. Aziz Ansari got canceled. Big fucking deal. Like, this guy still got a Netflix special and complained about all the people who were mean to him on Twitter. Who else? Dave Chappelle is getting canceled every week, allegedly, and still gets to, you know, say horrible things in each of his specials. So it's
all
like
he do is say.
So like again, it's like all these people, both ends of the cancel culture discourse, mind you, to a certain extent, are just saying people on the computer are being mean to me. And that's why I never wanted to fucking talk about it, because like you're asking me to pick a side here in a discussion I don't want to be a fucking part of. But this is stage 2 of it, you know, where now you're talking about this personal incident, because if you care to know like why it happened, This is a personal incident that had played out in public that, frankly, I don't think anyone should care about. But since everyone has chosen to, like, you know, insert themselves into it, that's why it exploded the way it did. There is a certain way that these guys are viewing stand-up comedy as this kind of, like, the only means they know of to speak truth to power. And it's not really even speaking truth to power. It's just guys, like, bitching about how they don't understand certain aspects of society that deep down they really only have a transactional relationship with. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, okay, Dave Chappelle and his, like, bits about trans people and stuff. I'm sorry. How many people who are like deathly afraid of trans people, how many of them have a relationship with a trans person in any capacity beyond a transactional one?
Usually they don't have any.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, the fact that, like, everyone is, you know, telling ghost stories about people they don't understand on the computer and then, like, taking them back in the real world and talking about it to make money, and then people getting mad at it again, like, it's kind of, I'm not gonna say it, I mean, I don't know how else to say this other than, like, no one is defending civilization in a meaningful sense, even though they think they are. Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, these right-wingers are basically telling themselves ghost stories and then talking about it. It's like, look at how weird trans people are, man. And then trans people get mad about it. And then they're like, wah, they were mean to me. Now, of course, then you have the real, like, you know, legislative project that the Republican Party is doing in all these states, and that's horrible. And I think there is a real case for, like, you know, these guys are doing shitty stand-up that frankly sucks. Which is the other aspect of this I want to get at, too. Stand-up comedy, I remember the fucking days of it, and it started with social media for a lot of people. The intersection of social media and people posting clips of people's stand-up shows and shit, I think is probably why people have such an affinity to it, and the same way that they'll use social media as, like, a way to project themselves onto shit is the same way they'll project themselves onto different comedians they follow and whatever. But I'm just gonna ask the question, how much of it is actually good anymore?
Almost none of it.
I think, like, comedy has, like, migrated out into other aspects now. Like, it's on like, people will follow shows, podcasts, web shows, like all that shit. It's not just isolated to stand-up anymore. And stand-up as a medium, I don't think like, it has not become the sole repository for comedy anymore. That medium is, like, maybe kept alive by, like, the Netflix shit, you know what I'm talking about? Or maybe, like, Comedy Central shows and shit, but the audience for that is kind of, like, stilted. It's kind of like an older, I would want to say Gen X, older millennial crowd, maybe. And that's really who's, like, feeding this. It's like that cohort, particularly, like, dudes who are highly online.
I mean, the thing is like, where would you even go to do a stand-up?
Like, maybe like an open mic bar or something.
Yeah,
I don't
like,
fucking
where
know.
would
Like,
you do? Like, how would you? Like, so much. You can't even. It's not even like you couldn't just go and be a stand-up right now. You would have to do probably improv or some other type of like low-level acting, like guest stars. There's not, like, you can't just do stand-up now and get, like, famous and be a famous comedian because of stand-up.
and that's what I'm saying too, is, like, I don't think, like, stand-up is the only, unless it really is the only way these guys make money anymore. I don't fucking know.
That's
but, like,
not my problem. Get more creative.
I mean,
Why
it's
are
like
y'all
Joe.
so bad
Like,
at
you
your
have
jobs?
Joe Rogan moving over to the podcast medium and shit too, and doing MMA shit. It sounds like you guys can't get a bag.
Yeah. Don't be mad, bitch. Get a bag, bitch. Megan Thee Stallion. Like, I don't know what else to tell you.
It's weird that
It's getting weird.
You know, a guy comes on stage, speaks for like an hour, extended. The material can get dated very quick. the guy's got to keep the audience going, and it's got to be an audience that followed the guy, so they get more inside jokes as they do more shows or whatever. But the kind of self-importance of that medium and the people who live within it is kind of telling to me. You know what I mean? They all try to paint themselves in the shadow of George Carlin or Richard Pryor, and these were guys who are talking about observations they make on society, because observational comedy is really the name of the game here. The stand-up is just the medium, right?
Yeah.
But the whole point to this is that it has to be funny, and I'm sorry, not everyone is gonna find your shit funny. And you're getting mad at certain people online who you don't really need to interact with, not appreciating your material. And you're saying that they're being soft, but then you're saying, but people need to take hard words. They need to be able to take things seriously. They need to be able to see things that disagree. Guess what? Not everyone's gonna like your material, dog. Especially if it's not funny.
Yeah. Not everyone wants to talk about hating their wives. That's not a humor that I really like. It's not really funny. But I really like self-deprecating things. That's funny to me. If you're making fun of yourself, that's more funny than you making fun of somebody else, in my opinion. So that's the comedy I'm gonna try to look up and be around. But
just the kind of self-mythologizing these guys do. I'm speaking truth to power. I'm talking about society. The only other person that believes that shit that religiously about themselves is a fail podcaster or a CNN journalist. You know what I fit the bill, and I still don't do that. You know what I mean?
You're welcome. I did this for you. If I wasn't here,
I
you
am
guys
speaking
would not,
truth to power.
You would not hear this. No, boo. I've heard this same regurgitated thing a million times on Twitter. Can you please find something else?
It's just, I don't know. It seems really the whole stand-up comedy and the people oh, why can't comedians say shit anymore? Motherfucker, people got off of stand-up a minute ago. They're now writers. They're now doing podcasts. They're now doing web shows and shit. If you're complaining that a certain cohort does not enjoy this shit anymore, you gotta find a bag, bro. You're the one. You're the one saying that people gotta face the hard truth. That include you too?
Mm. Gotcha.
Anyways, I don't fucking and that's not to say that I have it all figured out myself. I know I could not fucking perform on stage, but I'm just saying, the cancel culture shit is such a stupid discussion to have at the end of the fucking day for that reason. Do you really think these guys are doing anything beyond putting on a show to make some money? Is this really the observational society analyzing shit that they say they're doing, or is it just entertainment? Because my money is on the latter.
Yeah, I think people really think that they're again, you think that the stand-up comedian saying shit is basically activism. This isn't Showtime at the Apollo, bitch. This none of this is revolutionary. All of these jokes are jokes that you literally could, if you follow the right people, see on Twitter for free. So why would I go to some musty ass nightclub to go see a musty ass fucking performer who hasn't been relevant?
It's not even a nightclub. It's a comedy club.
That's true. That hasn't been relevant for 20 plus years. Make it make sense. You guys aren't funny. You're not funny anymore. You're not cute anymore.
And it's always been subjective. If comedy is always subjective, then you got to accept that.
Right. I'm sorry you're not going for your 45 and plus crowd. Maybe you should really be trying to market to them. Go to the casinos, bitch. I don't know what else to tell you. Have matinees. But stop getting mad at us because you're not funny.
And that's the funny thing about this is, people say they believe in markets, they believe in consumer choice, but,
and then don't give
when
the
it doesn't
consumer
work out
the
in their
choice.
behavior.
This is don't give the
When it doesn't
consumer
work out
the
in your
choice
favor.
to get a good person to actually
I
enjoy
just
what
don't
they're
think-
consuming.
I don't think stand-up comedy has the cultural purpose that people think it does. And people think that, offensive humor is still is funny, and we should defend the right to say it. That's not to say I don't enjoy offensive humor. I don't enjoy ribaldry. I'm just saying the medium is not fucking relevant in the way you think it is anymore.
There's a difference between offensive humor and cruelty. Like,
Yeah, because
why are you being
but
an
that's the
actual
thing too, is
cruel
like
person?
it's to say that like everyone's being hypersensitive. Some people are being hypersensitive all the fucking time. There's nothing you can do about it. But there's a difference between like things you say around people you're comfortable with, people who are not trying to get after you, and then this stand-up show that everyone is telling you you're supposed to be watching because it's so good, and it just feels like a pot shot at you personally. You know what I'm talking about? Like, which my personal thing is like, just don't watch it if you don't want to like see this shit. And I feel like the reaction, like the reaction economy to this stuff is always like the real problem. But at the same time, like, not everyone is gonna find your material fucking funny, and they shouldn't. And the kind of self-importance and the self-mythologization that some of these people have about their work is it's laughable. That's the actual funny part of what they do.
My thing is if a 56-year-old white woman who's cishet and middle class has the same humor as me, bruh, I'm gonna kill myself. There ain't no fucking way. There ain't no fucking way. I don't know why we would have the same humor, but if it is, I need to stop that humor. I need to stop, and maybe I need to live, laugh, love instead.
Okay. We're at the top of the hour, so I don't think we're going to get to everything we wanted to in the outline. And I'm kind of happy just keeping it as it is. One last thing I did want to talk about, though, is, this question of, is social media making people more pliant? And my kind of anecdote I wanted to lead in with this was, remember everyone and their mom on TikTok was saying, if you mix coffee with orange juice, it's going to be fucking great. And we all, like, both the two of us knew this is going to be nasty as hell. But I went out of my way to go make it. Why would I do that? What possible reason would I have to do that? And I went and tasted it. I went and drank like what I made. It was not the worst thing I've had, but it tasted like orange juice and coffee. It's exactly what you expected.
It wasn't like this magical like combination that is going to change my life. I'm like, yeah, I've been at brunch and had a mimosa and then also drank coffee. This is it.
So and that's the thing is like, I'm wondering, like, to what extent, like, publicizing the slap in that context, and getting everyone to fight about it and argue about it. What is it that makes us so pliable to do that, to like get into that scrum when, with the benefit of hindsight and the benefit of reflection, like thinking about, is this relevant to me? 90% being no, this is not relevant to me. And the other half being, I would not have cared about this had no one told me. And it's obvious that, this pliability is useful in the sense that, you're using social media and the internet and these other tools to market consumer goods to people, to analyze their consumer habits, to make money, all that shit, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the fallout from that is it makes people insane. It takes the already individualistic culture and society we have and abstracts it further, and I don't have a better explanation right now other than, people are getting gaslit in the greenhouse. Which I guess, again, I don't know. The whole idea behind that expression is like, well, it's transparent. You can look in and you can look out, but you're inside it until you step out. And while you're inside, things definitely feel warmer than they do outside. So there's an effect. And the gaslighting aspect is, there is some aspect to this that you feel what your experience is not the truth, or you're being told it's not the truth. So it's a funny term that I'm trying to find a way to explain, but that kind of is the experience of being highly online and having your brain rotted by the internet and then trying to participate in a society or talk about anything meaningful outside any of this shit. So yeah, thank you for your patience on that one, dear listener. I was hoping we'd have time to maybe get to talk about the historic Amazon Union Drive win in Staten Island. But I think we should maybe save that for another episode.
And hopefully more will be able to unionize.
Absolutely. Because, again, that is a big win to come from all this. Because this was a lot of nonsense, and then that was something that actually is worth commenting on, but I felt like I had to get this out first, and then we will address this later. So, any closing thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Don't let social media rot your
Just
brain.
log off. Log off.
You
Mute people. Delete
outside.
the app off of your phone.
Like, leave your phone in your car while you're going for a walk. Maybe don't do that. That still gives me a little bit like you're probably going to get murder vibes. But, just, you don't have to have an opinion about everything. Some things you can just be like, this is stupid.
I think that
really can be your opinion.
That really is it. Of like, you are freed from having a take. You are freed from the responsibility you are taught to have. Like, because I feel like a lot of people get roped into this, why aren't you as outraged about this as I am, type of behavior from social media. And I don't think, like, if you're really trying to be a meaningful, or you're trying to have more meaningful political action in your life, or you're trying to do something, or you're trying to, like, you want to be a better person, or whatever the nice gay liberal thing is you're trying to do, going on Twitter to talk about it, going on Facebook to talk about it, putting it on your Instagram story, furthest thing from good you could do. I think what we should do is maybe all of us go on strike from having phones for a day. Alyssa Milano talked about a sex strike. I'm saying we should be on a social media strike. I think, podcasts should be banned. I should be shot by firing squad for all the harm I've done to society with this podcast.
Again, remembering when there was the Nickelodeon Day of Play, and they would stop.
They would just stop playing the shit.
It's just like a fucking screen that says, "Bitch, go outside. It's Nickelodeon Day of Play."
No, that's exactly what happens.
Bitch ass.
That's the thing. Like, Ani, where's the new episode? Go outside.
Go the fuck outside.
Go read a book. Listen to some music, dog. Watch a movie. What do I care? Go live your life. You are released from your obligation to have a take on some of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Most, if not most of all of this shit. But I think, if you're really trying to talk about politics, you're trying to talk about society and culture, if you're really about that, I only care to talk about it in the context of power, identity, social structures, like the actual aspects of that provides you some meaningful insight. And I hope that kind of framing actually leads towards constructive solutions, i.e. socialism, labor unions, collective decision making, that kind of shit. But I digress. So this has been another episode of Greenhouse Gaslighting. Thank you for consuming this weekend's slop. I said log off, but if you are struggling to log off right now, go ahead and follow the show on Twitter at @PodGreenhouse and then log off. After seeing that Twitter feed, you will definitely want to do so. I also keep links to all the other things we do on the internet in the description below. If you are struggling to log off of those platforms, go ahead and give us a follow there before you log off. Why not? And if you think I had anything meaningful to say, which is highly unlikely, but if you find that to be the case, yeah, follow me on Twitter at Fibonacci Sniper. I'm there. I'm posting my horrible takes and horrible things I cook there. Sky, anything you want to plug now that I'm done plugging the show?
Be a nice person. Wear your fucking mask. Leave me the fuck alone.
All right. Till next time, see y'all in the greenhouse. Take care.
Bye.